Okay, everyone, I'm going to get started now. I've just disabled annotations. I think someone by mistake is annotated on the first slide. Quite interesting. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be looking at the DJI M300 RTK. Thanks for taking time out and being here today. This is the most advanced commercial drone from DJI to date. And I always get excited with any new drone launch. And I hope you'll be as excited as I am when I leave this session today, as it's quite an incredible development. Okay, so it's the Drone On webinar brought to you by Feds. We're here to help support and educate you in drone and related technology. So that can be supply and support, and also how to help to develop your business as well. Make sure today that you use the chat option. In this webinar, I want you to engage. So we have a few of our team members who will be answering your questions. So anything you want to know, please put it in that chat box. Don't be shy. So an introduction about myself. My name's Scott Henderson, and I'm the product sales manager at Feds. I've over 7 years experience in the drone industry, originating in the UK. Recently, I've joined the team to assist the growth in the company, and I've worked with DJI since we were 20 strong as team. So from the original days of early inception, I've conducted multiple events showcasing DJI technology over the years, and I hope I can share some of this knowledge with you at some point soon. So even after this event, get in touch with me if you want to know anything about DJI, the person to speak to. Whilst the M300 is familiar in its appearance to its predecessor, the M200, albeit it looks upside down in appearance and slightly alien, the system is a culmination in industry understanding and feedback from the global drone community. Now, RTK stands for real-time kinematic, and it allows you to triangulate positioning in ground control points for more accurate data gathering. DJI has been shaking up the industry through data-driven value. So the incredible growth in the enterprise drone use we see today is fueled by data. Now, DJI has a built-in ecosystem to supply this demand and offer a holistic solution. So you get better payload capability, better sensors, better software, more options and more configurations. And DJI is helping reinvent the tools of yesterday into drone technology today. Now, I don't know if any of you can see a black area on screen. Apologies if you do see that. I'll probably remove that. Let me just see. Yeah, there's a yellow scratch on screen as well. I think someone annotated, so I don't know how to remove that, so I do apologize. I'll tell you what I can do is, bear with me just a second. I stop share, and then I share my screen again. And if we go through to this page, here we go. I hope that all works for you. Let me know in chat if you can see everything fine. So, going through this holistic solution, better payloads, and DJI, as I mentioned, is helping reinvent the tools of yesterday in the drone technology today. Okay, so with this reinvention, you need to set standards, and that's for safety and security. And drones are the future, so in order to comply with regulatory bodies, there has to be synergy between manufacturers, drone pilots, and society in general. And DJI do a very good job of this. You'll notice that some of their enterprise products, particularly the M200 and M300 series, they integrate systems such as ADS-B receiving systems, which will notify pilots of aircraft in the area. There's also a high level of encryption in the transmission of the aircraft, and also for the transmission of the video feeds as well. So anyone who wants to keep their data sets secure, then these systems are the best possible option on the marketplace today to offer that level of security. DJI do a very good job in doing so. And by the way, today I just want to mention that I have a DJI representative who will be helping answer any of your technical questions, Graham. So please take advantage of his presence today. Towards the end, he'll be helping you answer any questions as well. So the drone boasts up to 15 kilometers transmission range. It really is the best in technology. There's loads of different features on it, which I'll go into in a bit of detail But going through the transmission range, it gives you superior performance. You've got improved safety and reliability, an advanced intelligence platform, and also extensibility and openness on this. So free to develop new hardware and software for this system as time progresses. Going into those details, that transmission range, that's key. Because not only are you increasing the range, but you're also increasing the quality of transmission to that aircraft. We're seeing a massive increase in flight time here, up to 55 minutes, that's without payload. Omnidirectional collision avoidance, and also it's a lot more resilient to dust and water than ever, so more reliable in extreme environments. A flight obstacle data is presented in a new primary flight display. I'm going to go through in a bit of detail on that system. It's going to give you unprecedented situational awareness, unlike previous systems, which were already fantastic. This drone takes it to the next level. The mission durations on the M300 RTK are vastly superior to any DJI drone previously brought about by the enterprise market. The H2OT setup, that offers you up to 250% more flight time over the previous combination seen in the M200 series. So if you want zoom, you want thermal, and you want simultaneous speeds, you get a M210 RTK, the Z30 zoom camera, and the XT2 payload. You get that all in one payload, the H2OT. I'll go in a bit of detail as we go through this webinar. But because of that one payload, and because of the improved flight times, you see an increased effective flight time of 43 minutes, but giving you the same capability, if not more, than the previous generation of 15 minutes. So very, very impressive flight times here, which is going to give you a lot more capability in field. The new batteries for the drone offer much of the technology prevalent in the M210. You get smart heating capability, albeit probably less reliant or relevant in our region. There are discharge fail-safes, so if you store the batteries at 100% over longer periods of time, the aircraft or the batteries will reduce the battery charge automatically to around 55%, which is around your safe storage charge, which is great because if you don't need to use those batteries, the batteries will look after themselves. And that gives you confidence if you're using these in the field. So the Matrice B60, you see here, the BS60 charging station is the new rugged and all-in-one solution for the drone and remote batteries. You can store up to 8 TB60 drone and 4 W37 monitor batteries in one go. For continuous operations, if you have a power source or a generator to hand, 2 batteries can be charged within 60 minutes, and this allows non-stop flight. So you charge 2 batteries at a time, you get back in the air, you replace the batteries that have been used, and do this on a continuous level. So a very impressive system. We would recommend this is a platform to get with the drone. So anyone who wants to have a quotation for the system going forward, this will be a standard in all your quotations. The OcuSync Enterprise system provides that 15 kilometers transmission, and that's in the USA under FCC rules. The European variant, you see up to 8 kilometers range. However, this is quite important. That's over twice the equivalent of the M210 platform, which was around 3 kilometers. So you're ensuring a much stronger HD video feed and control for each flight. So giving you a lot more confidence knowing you're not going to lose control of that aircraft. The DJI have increased the maximum takeoff mass to 9 kilograms, which is very impressive. And also it allows capacity up to 2.7 kilograms. I'll be intrigued to see what sensors are developed for this new platform. There's already a plethora of bespoke sensors through the M210 range, and that's thanks to the SDK Skyport integration. So that offers third-party suppliers the ability to create something that will fit direct on the drone. But here you see in front of you are some of the series, which I'll go into a bit of detail, that are currently compatible with the M300. The drone allows up to 3 simultaneous payloads, which is very exciting. And this offers greater flexibility and reduces your payload exchanges and missions. So for example, on the right, you see the Spotlight, you see the XTS. I'm not going to talk about that particular sensor today. That will be for a later webinar. And also the H2O payload as well. And these can be used and switched between in flight just by clicking a button on the remote control. So you can have multiple capability on one platform. Now remember that some of these payloads in their own right have multiple sensors on board. So on that right there, you see three payloads, but you may have up to 7 or 8 sensors on board. So a very unique capability, putting the M300 RTK ahead of its rival systems. So we see in front of us the compatible payloads, and these are offered by DJI currently. I'm going to discuss the H2O series, but it's important to note that any current M210 customers or M200 series customers, or even M600 customers using the current Z30, the current XT2 thermal camera, these are compatible with the M300. So straight out the box, you can use those old sensors, which is great because the aircraft is very price competitive. So very interesting there that DJI offer this backwards compatibility as well. Many of you will be looking forward to learning more about these sensors, and I was fascinated when they first released the H2O series. It offers so much bang for the buck in terms of capability in such a small size. And this is where it gets interesting. The H2O-T boasts not 1 or 2, but 4 individual sensors mounted on one payload. You get 12 megapixel wide angle camera, a laser rangefinder with up to 1200 meter range. You get a 20 megapixel zoom camera, which is 23 times hybrid. You use both optical and digital. And bearing in mind the Z30 was a 2 megapixel zoom camera, so they've really upped the game here. And finally, and most importantly, a radiometric thermal camera. So similar to that of the XT2, I believe it's a Tau2 sensor. Grain may correct me if I'm wrong. However, it is all in one platform, and it has its own IP44 rating. So dust and rain, it's impervious to those. So great for our region, which is also beneficial when learning how to keep this aircraft flying for longer durations. Okay, so if thermal isn't required, then the H2O option is still available. So those 3 sensors I mentioned at the start, they're on the H2O platform. Now, you just take away the radiometric thermal camera and you have a very cost-effective system. If you already have an XT2, for example, then I would recommend going down the route of the H2O as a complement, so using those dual payloads. The new remote controller offers a user interface which is brand new and allows new switching between each payload and sensors. Now the M300 RTK. So this is ideal for situational awareness. With a tap of a button, you can switch between thermal, wide angle, and zoom, and you don't have to take your hands off the control. So you keep control of that aircraft at all times. A central designated indicator on screen designates the section used for zoom camera when you decide to switch, and I'll showcase that in due course. The DJI already use this interface in the M200 series, but they've made it a bit more aesthetically pleasing. They've improved the way it reacts and the way it works. It's a lot faster to switch between cameras, so very much looking forward to getting hands on this. The new primary display gives you unprecedented situational awareness. Sensors on all sides of the aircraft measure the distance of objects up to 40 meters. This marks in a central circle on the screen indicating the environment to the pilot. There's anti-collision beacons and lights top and bottom for airspace management on the aircraft. And going back into the design, although it's somewhat alien in appearance, it looks like it's an upside down M210 boom there, which is strange in appearance. But this is essential for the IP rating of the drone. The ingress protection offers peace of mind, allowing proficient operation in more varying conditions than other drones, because that motor is upside down. Very interesting. There's also something to mention, the electronic speed controllers, the ESCs, are now located in the body. So there's a lot more propensity for a safer flight over a longer period of time. Status monitoring is now standard on this platform. You can monitor the health of the drone. You can manage flight data, your flight logs. You can also look into firmware versions and troubleshoot remotely. So this is going to be welcomed by many of you present today who operate remotely and don't really have the option all the time to take it back to headquarters, fix a problem, and then get back to site. The design of this platform so you can troubleshoot on site and you can get back in the air sooner than the competitive platforms. So having this ability gives you increased efficiencies in all your inspections. So this is all very good, Scott, but what about motor failure? You might ask me that. Well, DJI have implemented a fail-safe, allowing controlled emergency landing if you lose a motor or propeller in flight. What about the pilot? So if you're using the attached payloads, how can you observe aircraft orientation? Well, with the previous generation, the M300 RTK offers two simultaneous operators. One controlling the aircraft using that front-facing small first-person view camera, and then the second working with the payload and sensors. So this adds safety features, including ADS-B receiver, which I mentioned. This informs the pilots of unmanned aircraft, and that's within a 20-kilometer vicinity of the drone. I know there are some rumors and there are some spreading of information talking about it being a transponder as well. It's currently only a receiver, but still a very positive step in the right direction in terms of air safety. So what happens if sensor fails on board? Well, DJI offer multiple system redundancies. There's a dual IMU, that stands for inertia measurement unit, a dual barometer, dual compass, and dual RTK antennas, and your global network satellite system modules as well. So if a battery fails, it can operate on one only, and this allows you to return home safely. Even better than that, both pilots can switch responsibilities.
In the past records, there is
just going to, what I'm going to just mention now, we'll have a questions and answers section towards the end of this webinar. So if anyone has any questions they want to ask, I'll be more than happy to unmute you and have a discussion as we go along. So for now, place any questions in the chat box and we'll be more than happy to respond to those questions, and then I'll talk over it towards the end. So if anyone unmutes, I'll just have to remute you. So I do apologize for that. Okay, so talking about multiple sensor redundancy, this is a good example of that motor failure and how you successfully land the aircraft if there is a loss of motor. So apologies if this is a little bit jerky for all of you. I'm hoping you see this as fluidly as I do. Now then, so you can return that aircraft, albeit there may be damage to the sensors. It won't be a total loss, and this is very unique. You don't see this in quadcopter design, so great to see DJI include this safety protocol on this platform. They're very impressive. So the user interface gives the pilot the ability for so much more, and this is thanks to the H2O sensors. And over the next few slides, I'm going to go through some of the advanced intelligent features that the M300 RTK has to offer. You've got pinpoint, smart track, and location sharing. So first of all, pinpoint. This allows you to identify an object or person on screen. The point will appear as a small box, and you see in front of you here it's augmented or superimposed over the live feed. This is going to make orientation far easier when moving the aircraft, but also when you're wanting to keep reference for that point later. This point will also reference simultaneously on the built-in mini-map. You see that here. So this little mini-map will have that point, and you can move on to your next object or next area of interest, and that will be stored at any time. This is quite exciting, smart track, and this is a natural development of active track seen in many DJI drones to date, and they're primarily consumer drones, but this is far more advanced from the M300 RTK, and this is thanks to the H2O sensor. So here you can see we're tracking a vehicle, it keeps it in frame, and in that frame, that is the zoom capability. So if you want to switch between cameras, you've got that capability to do as the laser rangefinder is tracking that object. Very impressive. Very exciting if you want to track targets, people. I know in today's climate this might have some particular good use cases. So also using pinpoint and smart track, you can also share the location of these with the second operator, or even online through the DJI Flight Hub application. If you have a team remotely accessing this data, then it can allow for more advanced planning. So you set the target, you track that object, you can share it with your team who are off-site or through the cloud system. And also, you can hand this information over to a second pilot. So they may be set in a different location. You transfer that information to them, and they have the same situational awareness that you had, and you see that on screen as you had created, which is very key for group work on the system. So moving on to smart inspection, I'll be talking about live mission recording and AI spot check. First off, Waypoints 2.0, that offers up to 65,535 waypoints. It now supports bank turning, so pretty good. So you've got more dynamic flight routes you can take up on those waypoints. Rather than just point A to B, you can have a dynamic change between those waypoints. And point of interest is supported with multiple payloads, and that includes third-party payloads. That's very welcomed. The live mission recording allows you to automatically record new points when taking photos or videos, and it automatically records new points when you're panning the gimbal, or you're planning to take a photo, or if you want to adjust the pitch of that gimbal as well. This is ideal if you wish to revisit the same spot again. Fly manually only once, and then afterwards the drone will copy your first set of actions every time you revisit. So that's really good for efficiency gaining. If you want to undertake the same inspection week after week or month after month, and you want to do exactly the same flight plan, you do it manually the first time, and then you reprogram it to do exactly the same flight program without having to manually interject. So you improve your efficiencies tenfold, which is very welcomed in this drone. AI spot check allows the gimbal to capture an object for consistency. So whilst the aircraft hovers statically, you can record or revisit the scene, and the scan will be much in the same way as the first capture, so very similar to live mission recording. But if there are objects of interest and you want to see over time the change in that object, then this is perfect for you. This is a great software addition to this platform. The next feature is also very key to the capability of this drone in confined spaces. So if you don't want to necessarily risk the aircraft or risk the environment with the surrounding infrastructure, statically hold the aircraft in a single position, drag over an area, and then you can stitch together high-resolution images using the 20 megapixel zoom camera. And these images are all stored on a subfolder on the SD card on the drone for easy post-processing. They're kept separate from the rest of your footage. So, how do you do all the previous actions when on site? Well, the primary flight display on the included 5.5-inch remote control monitor provides you with crystal clear high brightness telemetry. The aircraft heading, altitude, speed, signal strength and battery levels are all on screen thanks to the industry-leading user interface, and we've all grown to love it. I feel this is setting DJI ahead of the competition in terms of that easy-to-use user interface. It's even got better with the M300, so good news for all of you DJI users out there. DJI have included, or they introduced this central compass, visually identifying obstacles, as you can see here, within the vicinity of the drone. So notice as it passes through the obstacles, proximity bars illuminate, indicating exactly where there is an obstruction. And such a benefit to the pilot who can rely on on-screen information when they don't have the liberty of seeing those obstacles in person. So on that bridge there, you might not have line of sight, but the drone will indicate precisely how close those objects are to the drone. And that's 360, so very, very welcomed improvement on the drone. So, does it offer, what else does it offer? It offers advanced dual control. And what is this? Well, it offers the ability for two pilots to transfer flight whilst the drone is airborne. And this means that you can transfer the controls to allow extended visual line of sight operations. So this is a great addition. Two separate pilots could be in two separate locations. One could be the takeoff point, one could be on site. The two separate pilots can transfer control from one remote to the second. So that could extend your operation and your distance of flying that aircraft safely. I'll go into a bit of detail in due course on that. And SDK as well, which stands for Software Development Kit. This is ideal for wanting to develop bespoke software or applications to use in combination with the payloads. So thanks to the capability, we've already seen many third-party offerings on the M300 series, and that includes megaphones, spotlights, UV sensors, laser methane sensors. I'm excited to see what will be offered down the line on the new M300 platform in particular. Thanks to SDK, this will all be possible. And notice the accessories in front of you. I've gone through the battery station. The TB60 intelligent flight batteries, larger than ever, and they will provide that improved flight time. Very key to note as well, they're hot swappable, so you can keep the power on the aircraft, swap one battery out, swap the second battery out without turning the aircraft off. So land, replace the batteries very quickly, get straight back in the air without losing any functionality. And of course, they've got that smart heating function, albeit in the MENA region, it's not a problem. And there is a peculiar device in the bottom right there you may be looking at. It's a circular scanning millimeter wave, or a CSM radar system. And this is going to be provided in the future, and it's going to add additional safety measures, giving you detection range between 1 to 30 meters. And this is going to be mounted on the top of the aircraft. So excited to see that development. To make the most of the real-time kinematic status of the aircraft, you can use ground control points, or you can include the mobile station DJI offer, and that triangulates your position, which benefits in terms of flying near magnetic structures, that prevents any loss of transmission, and it also improves the accuracy of your data, so you can manage the aircraft far more accurately than your standard network or global network satellite system. So I hope you can see the endless benefits of this system and what it has to offer. There's some additional software features. You've got extra collision avoidance, prolonged battery life, greater sensors, and this makes this drone ideal for all of these sectors in front of you. And I'm hoping you've seen the opportunity when DJI launched this platform. For those who want to see some direct comparisons between the outgoing M210 RTK and then the new M300 RTK, I've got a table of specifications for you here. I'll make sure this information is sent to you after today, so you'll have all this information should you need it, and you can ask myself, you can ask Graham after this as well, more on the intrinsics of this data. But basically, the M300 betters the M210 in every way, albeit a slightly larger frame. Now, one thing to note on the drone, the props are permanently attached, so they're folded in the case with the drone. No need to take them off, put them back on. And the drone is stored in a rugged carry case. So when you do receive it, this is a rugged carry case where all your peripherals and all the accessories can be stored away, and you can forget about it until your next job. When you open that case, it is upside down, so it allows you to put your landing gear straight on the aircraft, and also your payload on the underslung slot straight away. You don't need to take it out of the case. You can get the speed. You can deploy a lot faster than the previous drone as well. It's key to note. You can see here, you've got an increased service ceiling. You've got a faster speed on the aircraft itself in sport mode. And you've also got greater wind resistance on that aircraft as well. The transmission distance, very impressive how they've improved that whilst keeping within the legalities of the transmission. And of course, it's capable of carrying a lot more as well. Albeit this is a brief, short and sweet, shorter than my usual drone on webinars. I was very excited for the launch of this drone, and I wanted to share my main points of this platform with you all. And I hope you've learned a little bit more about the system. I will be conducting more webinars down the line, particularly on the M300, so this is just a taste of things to come. And we're going to have a demonstration unit inbound any day now, so we're going to put it through its paces, and we'll be able to provide more information based on that. Now, if you want to know about pricing, if you have any questions, you want to put those through to the chat box, please do now. And we'll be more than happy to answer those questions. But finally, I just want to mention for the pricing and for ordering, please do get in touch with myself. Do this via email. You've got my mobile number there. I'm free to take any questions you may want to ask. Add me for WhatsApp too. You'll be all pleasantly surprised by the price of this M300. you may think it's a lot more expensive than the M210. You'll be very surprised. Very excited in the cost and the value proposition of this system. So you'll all be very keen to know on how much it costs. So I'd love to share that with you in due course. So at this point, has anyone got any questions they would like to ask us in the chat box? Yes, I'll provide the copy of the specifications. One of the questions I have in there. What I'll do is I'm just going to unmute Green. Great, Green. So I've unmuted you in the chat if there's any chat. If anyone has any questions, please fire away now. Anything you need to know on availability, on pricing, I'll follow that in due course. But yeah, now's the time. And if you don't have any questions now, that's a potentially a very good sign. I've provided you all the information that you need to know. So 3 types of payload, that's a question that I see in the main inbox. Well, currently there are the H2O sensors, and there are also the outgoing Z30 XT2 sensors or payloads that can be attached to the aircraft. At this moment in time, you may feel that the H2OT or the H2O might be sufficient. However, as I mentioned, the M300 series, they welcomed the payloads such as the megaphone, the spotlight, a UV sensor as well, a gas methane sensor. So you may currently want to use the H2O series, but you may want to add that sensor for specific use cases. The great thing is, you don't need to take that sensor off. You can add the next sensor on, and then you can add another sensor on without having to land the aircraft and then replace that sensor. So the idea is having 3 types of payload offers you 3 times the capability as you'd previously seen, and more so than the M210, which offered a maximum of 2 payloads at any time. I hope that answers your question. We're talking about a better price than the M210, believe it or not. I was very surprised to see that. We're seeing some very innovative pricing, so you can't argue with the system. I've got a lot of clients who are looking at the M210 and now looking for the M300, so I'm very pleased to announce that. Okay, so IP45. That's going to minimize and avoid dust particles, absolutely, yes. This IP45 rating is an improvement over the IP43 rating on the M200 series. So it allows small objects and also spray from all directions. The M200 series was limited in terms of its capability for water ingress, and I know in the MENA region it's not a problem for us, but I know that sand and dust is a problem. So the sensor itself, you're talking about the vision sensor error. This is a question potentially for Grain. Grain, I don't know if you can help me on this one. A vision sensor error on the M200. Are you aware of this being addressed in the M300 platform? Is there anything you can mention on that?
For the visual sensor error, the customer said that before there is the error in M210, but now for M300, till now we already do many tests. We didn't find there is any error for the vision sensor, so it can be it's already been optimized and being solved. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Grain. So yeah, it seems that they've addressed that situation, Gilbert, so hopefully that will be fixed. I suppose when we test our platform, we'll be able to verify that as well. Any other questions anyone would like to ask? So if that's everyone, that's great. So what I'll do is I will share this all with you, and if you can share that with your colleagues and your bosses, and let's spread the word on the system. If anyone wants to speak to me in due course, you have my details in front of you on screen, and I'll be more than happy to help code it up and get you these systems as soon as possible. Again, thank you very much for your time today. I hope you all enjoyed this. And yes, please stay tuned for future webinars from the Feds team, and very much hope to see you again in the future. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you, guys.